For a while now, I know we've all been hearing about the young man that passed away at LeBron James School, that they want to keep attaching to LeBron James School. I don't know why the media, whenever an incident like a death or something not good happens anywhere. And for this instance, we can just go ahead and use the LeBron James School. This incident, the boy did not die at LeBron James School, in LeBron James School, or on the premise of LeBron James School. He died around the vicinity of LeBron James School. What I mean by that is he was somewhere in the area, probably a couple of blocks over from LeBron James School, but because the school was so close to it, they want to attach that name to the story, which is the reason why the story had got as big as it did. Another thing is the media, when they first put the story out, when I first read it, we didn't have racists. We didn't know who the parties were that was involved. All we knew was that a young man was attacked after a basketball game and he died. That was all that we knew. As time went on, more of the story come out, we find out that the young man who died, his last name is Lemon. That's the only thing about his name that we're going to use today because, again, this story is not about him. It's the lesson that we all can learn. Black, white, and everyone else in between all can learn from this situation right here. Because the thing is, in the African American community, we are taught and we learn at an early age the do's and the don'ts of living in these streets here in the United States of America. For some reason, I don't think our counterparts teach their children the do's and the don'ts of the streets, especially when you're dealing with someone that's outside of what they want to call your race. And the reason why I say this is because if Mr. Lemon had any idea, had any clue, wasn't oblivious to how African Americans react when they have a gun pointed in their face. See, when reading the story after the rest of everything came out and looking into it and seeing what was going on and finding out that Mr. Lemon and three other people that he was with was riding around with a water gun, shooting things and shooting people. One of them, for some apparent reason, stupid idea, brainless idea, must not have contained the mental capacity to understand that what they were about to do was wrong. At night, it's dark. You're an African American man here in the United States of America. We know how our neighborhoods are. You're playing basketball in the park, in the dark. Just you and your boys. Just the four of you. Your bags and everything else, even if you had protection, is not on you because you're playing basketball. You're unaware. That was another reason why Mr. Lemon and his friends chose them and chose to sneak up on them and do this little brainhead scheme they did. So when they snuck up on them, pretending that they were going to rob them, the four boys on the basketball court did what all of us do when a gun is pointed at us. You run. Some people freeze. Most people run. It should have been over then. Lemon and his friends should have stayed at that basketball court, turned around, got back in that car, and drove off. But when the boys on the basketball court ran, Lemon and his friends allegedly ran after them. Whichever one of them had that water gun, that little BB gun, water gun, should have never shot the gun at them. Because the moment that they shot the gun at them, you told them that that's not a gun and it's a toy. So now what kicks in is not fight or flight, but it's anger. Because now you're just playing with my emotions. I don't feel like playing with you. So now I'm going to turn around and put hands on you. Not saying that the boys who was playing basketball was right, but no, I'm saying that I understand. Because I'm not saying that what Mr. Lemon and his friends did was wrong. No, you just need to understand the consequences of your actions. Mr. Lemon and his friends approached these boys who was minding their business playing basketball on the basketball court, pretending to rob them, chase them, gave up the fact that this is just a toy gun. So now the basketball boys turn around and chase you and they beat you down. Do I believe that these boys meant to kill Mr. Lemon? No, I do not. I don't believe that they meant to kill him. I don't believe there was even any malice involved in their part. What I believe is that these gentlemen, after realizing that these fools came on them with a toy gun, I believe that these gentlemen thought that they were going to teach these boys a lesson by just giving them a little beat down, just to put a little hands on them. I don't think that these gentlemen believe that it would go this far. I don't think that these gentlemen believe that they even killed this man. But here are some other things in the story before I move on that I have a problem with. Here is, when we first heard about this story, it said that Mr. Lemon was found alone dead in the park near the LeBron James school, whatever his school is called. Later, we hearing that he was with three other people. So if these four boys beat up these boys and then Mr. Lemon was left there And those boys who beat on them, they did what they did, they ran. I have a question. Where was Mr. Lumen's friends? And why did his friends not turn around and go back for him? Why didn't his friends pick him up, put him in that car, and get him to the hospital? Why did his friends leave him in that park? Why didn't his friends notify his parents what happened and that he was in that park? Why was Mr. Lumen left there? Because if you're going to arrest the 4 basketball players who were minding their business in that park, who may potentially, because we live here in America, and I'm going to get to that part in a minute, because we live here in America. Those were, we know now, 3 young black men from 17 and under 25 who may now potentially lose the rest of their lives because here in America, they don't treat us fairly in the legal system. There is nothing wrong with the legal system. The system is fine. The system works, but it's the people that sit on that bench who don't take all of the circumstances when it comes to the African American into consideration when it comes to sentencing. Because when they finally get the 4th one, 4 black boys, African Americans, descendants of slavery, have their day in court, stand before that judge, be judged by a jury of Lumen's peers, they're going to throw the book at them. They're not going to take into consideration that they was in fear of their lives. They're not going to take into consideration that these boys were afraid, fearful. They were defending themselves. How they going to see it is that Lumen and his friends was in retreat. There was no threat. In hindsight, yes, that's easy to say. But in the moment, when that adrenaline is pumping, when you're angry, when you're not using your rational mind, not having your rational thought. Because if you're going to blame these boys who were defending themselves, minding their business that night in that park, you better blame Lumen and his friends also, because they're also responsible for it, which means not only should 4 people be arrested, but 7. The 3 gentlemen who was with Lumen that night, when they had that harebrained scheme to go pull a prank in the middle of the night against 4 black men, 4 black young men, minding their business, not out there rolling on ops, being gangbangers. They're out there doing what most African American black men, descendants of slavery, do from Monday to Sunday. If you really want to find the average African American male, you find them at the park on the basketball court. It doesn't matter if he's a gangbanger or he's working on Wall Street. You will find him at the basketball court. But the media wants to believe you will find us on a corner or committing some kind of robbery. But that image is not true. And those images need to be dispelled, need to be put an end to. Which brings me to the pictures that have been released. Because like I said, when we were first told about this story, there were no pictures, there were no names. It was just a young man was found dead next to LeBron James' school. Which then we found out it wasn't even next to his school. It was in a park adjacent somewhere, 2 blocks away. I don't know, around the corner, but not in the vicinity, inside the building, on the block. No, you give us this picture of Lumen that looks like a school picture. But the picture of the innocent young men, African American, black descendants of slavery, that were minding their business, playing basketball on whatever night it was, not out robbing, not out stealing, not out bothering anyone, doing any kind of crime, or hurting or harming anyone. They were out enjoying themselves, having a good time. And instead of going to their social media like how you got these photos, and finding ones that are more suitable, try to find the worst images of these young men that you can find to depict them as thugs in the minds of society. Because remember, we live in the age of social media. These people don't have time to read. They ain't got time to sit and really research or look into what's really going on. They only pay attention to headlines and photos. And that headline and photo shows in the minds of the people in America that are looking at this, especially the people in Mr. Lumen's community, they're going to think like, oh, just another day, just some thugs out here doing what thugs do. And those boys were not thugs. They were minding their business on a basketball court, doing what most African Americans, black descendants of slavery, does on an everyday, daily basis, no matter what it is they do on their off time. You could have found better pictures in this, but you're already trying to convict these men these young men, because like I said, the youngest was 17 and the oldest was under 25. And you want to depict them in the eyes of the media and in the community, in the world, as thugs. And that was not the case. Because in this case, Mr. Lummon and his friends are the guilty party. But unfortunately, the way the laws are set up, it's not going to look that way. The fact that in the eyes of the law, if the young men that were playing basketball, I'm not blaming them for anything. It's just sad that the media and their lies forever to want to brainwash, beat in our minds about racism, about bigotry, about blacks being treated wrong, about us not having anything, can't have anything, can't move on, can't grow. Because of all of the lies, unfortunately, I can't speak for the females in the African American black descendant of slavery, but I can speak for the males because I am a male. We don't want to be angry. We don't want to be mad. We would like to be happy. We would like to have fun. We would like to be not bothered and free to do and grow and prosper and see what we can create and bring into this world. But America, the media, and others would like us to stay where they want us to stay, would like us to believe that we can't have all these things and we can't achieve these things, but we can. We just have to stop listening to you, listening to the lies, and believing what it is that you tell us to believe. Because everything is a lie and none of it is real. We see this now with the past couple of years is that everything you do, if there's a reason to it, there is an angle to it. What is the angle? What is the angle to this story? What is it that you're trying to get out of this? Because yes, I can agree with you. What these boys did to Mr. Lumming was wrong. He didn't deserve to die. And I can also admit that they didn't mean to kill him. I can also admit that Mr. Lumming and his friends should not have did what they did. Because as I stated earlier, in the African American community, those of us who live in what you want to label as the hood, we're taught at an early age. You don't play with guns. Guns are not toys. We don't even like our children to play with guns because guns are not toys. We are taught at an early age, if you're going to pull it out, use it. You don't pull it out for show and tell to flash because you never know what somebody else have. You pull it out to play and they pulling it out to use it because it's used to defend yourself, not as a toy. That's why these men ran when they seen that. And that's why they turned around and wanted to put hands on him when they realized it was a toy, because you don't play with people like that. I can tell you from experience, and this is why I'm saying what it is that I'm saying when it comes to guns growing up in the hood. I'm from Newark, New Jersey, what they call a brick city. And this is what I can tell you from my experience when it comes to guns. When I say that, I understand that when it comes to the situations like this, there are two types of things that normally happen. There are some people that run and there are some people that freeze. The reason why I say this is because sometimes, or let me just say it like this. In my situation, this happened to me twice. The first time it was me and my best friend. We're sitting on the porch next to his house. Car pull up, dude stick his hand out the window, shoot the gun. Now, me and him were just talking. Like I said, we see the car pull up. We see him stick his hand out the window. We also see him pull a gun and shoot the sparks, everything. And we still sitting there. And we weren't sitting there because we were afraid. We weren't sitting there because we was like, oh shit, he's shooting at us or in fear of our lives at that moment. Because I know in that moment, in my mind, I'm sitting looking like, wait, is this motherfucker really shooting at me? It didn't click in my head that this fucking shooting at you. Run! No, it didn't register in my brain that he was shooting at us. It didn't register to either one of us that he was shooting at us until he went to pull the trigger the second time, but by this time the gun jams. And at this time, we both run in opposite directions. The point is, it did not register to us what was going on in that moment. It was just like we was in shock. We couldn't believe it. But then when it did, that's when fight or flight kicked in and we chose flight. Second time it was a chick. I don't know. There are some people who just like to run their mouths, and when it's time to have to answer for running their mouths, they want to run and get a gun. Like I said, I live in Newark, New Jersey. Everyone knows in New Jersey there is no self-defense law. Gun laws in New Jersey are stupid. Why do I have a gun if I can't defend myself with it? Not saying that she needed one to defend herself with it, because she was the one who caused the problem. That's another problem. Why are the ones that cause the problem are the ones who run to get the gun first? When you're the cause, that should not be what you're going to do. Because if your first thought is to run and get a gun when you're the cause of the problem, you need to sit down and wait until the problem comes to you and then have a reason to run and get that gun. If the first thought when problem comes that you start is to get the gun, then you don't need to be doing whatever it is that you're doing. Because gun is last resort. Guns should never have to be used, period. Things happen. You have a disagreement. If it comes where, again, I say people do what they do. We human. We gonna be real here. We ain't got time for the kumbayas and the lion. We know what really go on in the world. Remember to like, share, comment, subscribe. I'm Akeisha Mullins, and this is the Akron